Welcome to Mission Imperfect, the podcast about navigating the twists and turns of life and embracing the imperfections of the journey.
We're your hosts, life coaches Catherine and Kirsty, and our mission is to support you in finding your own path, your own way, with greater clarity and self trust, no matter how messy or uncertain things may seem.
We address the roadblocks that come up time and time again for our coaching clients, from acceptance and boundaries to values and well-being and everything in between.
As well as asking lots of questions, a coach's favourite thing to do, we'll be sharing thoughts and insights and offering plenty of tips, tools, and techniques for you to try.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to grab a cuppa and a biscuit and join us in getting lost in finding ourselves. Hello and welcome to this week's Mission Imperfect. Now, this topic is one that I can very much relate to. So I'm hoping to come away with some ideas for moving forward. But it's called simply, why can't I just get on with it? And this was your idea, Catherine. So tell me, why can't I just get on with it?
Well, not that I'm speaking from personal experience or anything, but sometimes it's just one of those questions, isn't it? I think we all have probably asked it, and it either sounds like that or it sounds a bit like one of these. I should just get on with it, but then we don't. Or why am I making this harder than it needs to be? But we don't know what the answer is. Or nothing's stopping me, so why am I not doing it? But we still don't do
Yes.
it. Or
Mhm.
just JFDI already, and yet still nothing happens. I think in one guise or another, some of that is going to feel familiar, and I think it's really
Yes.
normal. But it's a bit like we're all muddling along in a bog, going precisely nowhere, rather than feeling in that lovely full flow, going down a lazy river, preferably on a float with a cocktail, having a nice easy ride. It's more like, no, I'm stuck in a bog, going precisely nowhere.
Yes, that wading through treacle thing. I'm not sure if that's
Yes.
preferable to a bog or not. I suppose at least if you're wading through treacle, you've got a snack. But anyway,
Yeah, it's very slow progress, isn't it? And
yes, I
but the
think
thing
that's what we're
is,
trying to say.
yes, exactly. But the getting stuck or slowed down, whatever it is, it isn't about laziness or just not wanting to do anything. It means probably there's something unresolved hanging around in the way, a bit like an invisible obstacle, force field, something that just
Ooh.
means you're not getting close to the thing that's done. So I thought, let's talk a little bit about the hidden layers of stuckness.
Ooh, hidden
Because
layers
I
and
think,
force fields. I'm liking
yes,
this.
yes. So I
Right.
just come up with all sorts bogs, treacle, force fields. I mean, all sorts of imagery is going on here today.
Now,
I just,
hidden layers.
yes, because I think feeling stuck rarely is about the thing to be done, as in, we don't know what to do. Chances are we do know what to do. We're just grappling with it in some way, as in, it could be connected to a bit of uncertainty, emotional connection to it, fear of getting it wrong, maybe some competing priorities, maybe a bit of low energy or depletion, maybe even a bit of lack of clarity. There's going to be
Mm.
something, I think, around it that is
Yeah.
getting in the way. I think it's more about meaning than about motivation. And this is
Oh,
something we've spoken about before, the very early episode about motivation. It's quite a big topic. There's often an underlying cause for the lack of motivation to get something done. And that's where the meaning bit comes in. I hope that makes sense.
yes, it does. Yeah, especially when it's so often it's things that you kind of think, well, it's not actually that difficult, this thing that I should just be getting on with. And sometimes it's actually stuff you want to do and you just don't do it. So that
Yeah.
whole idea that there's something going on with the meaning, a hidden layer, definitely makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. And I think we can fall into a bit of a self talk trap when we feel stuck because inevitably it leads to frustration, right? Because that thing to be done is still there hanging over you the next day, and so on. And we probably think things like, I should be able to do this,
Mhm.
or other people manage this just fine, or what's wrong with me that I can't just get on and do this? I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced some thoughts like that before.
Very
I
much.
certainly get frustrated with myself when I haven't
Yes.
done done something. Often that's because I think I've been a bit unrealistic about what I think I can fit in a day. But then, of course, I have choices about what I fit in a day. And if I deliberately haven't chosen that thing, that's another layer of stuckness,
Yeah.
isn't it? I've prioritized other things when it comes into that competing priorities, but
Yes, the
perhaps
thing
I've
that's
not really
always
chosen.
at the bottom of your to-do list, there's
Yes,
something going
exactly.
on there, isn't there?
I let it fall to the bottom, usually because there's something tricky about it. It falls into the slightly too hard buckets. I
Yeah.
haven't spent time trying to understand it. But the point is, thoughts like, what's wrong with me and I should be able to do this, all these kind of thoughts, they rarely lead to helpful movement. Let's be honest. They are just
Mm,
chastisement, aren't they? It's just
they are.
going to create irritation and
Mhm.
probably more feelings of being stuck.
I think so, yeah. I mean, if you're telling yourself you're lazy and stupid, that doesn't put you into the best frame of mind for feeling, inspired and positive about doing something, does it?
Yeah, exactly. So, so how do we unstick? That's, I think,
Mhm.
the good question to ask. And I think instead of those sort of harsh questions or well, criticisms, really, aren't they, that are definitely more stick than carrots, I think the key question to really consider is what is making me feel unable to get on with it. A real dose of honesty. And you can sometimes get to that through thinking, is there something that actually doesn't feel clear here? Or
Yeah.
is it not that? Is it some kind of avoidance? Does something feel a bit heavy? Is there an emotional attachment to something that's going on here? Am I feeling or experiencing something in my body when I think about doing this task? What's that telling me? And just what would make this easier? Because
Mm.
sometimes we need to break things down if it feels like it's a long task. I may not get it all done in one go. How can I leave it halfway through? All this line of questioning will give you some useful information rather than just the berating ourselves. It's more kind of fact, as I like to say, more sort of neutral zone. What's going on with it? And it's not you suddenly going, oh, well, okay, that's it. Now I can get on with it. You're just kind of having a probe around first.
Yes. Trying to gain, I mean, you used the word before, trying to gain a bit of clarity around what is keeping you stuck. Yeah, it's interesting that there's questions you just sort of asked, what we're probing for. There's so much there around feelings, isn't there? When we think of tasks and think it's all very practical and logical and sort of rational going on, but what are the feelings going on there
Mm,
that are getting in the way? Maybe they're not even related or obviously directly related to the task. Maybe it's what's
yeah.
going on in life in general is making it hard to focus on the specifics, and it's nothing to do with that task, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be so many different things. It
Mm,
could be because our minds are distracted
yeah,
with something else.
interesting.
Maybe there's something competing for our attention that would be helpful to deal with first. Could be an energy or capacity type issue that we're just trying to do too much. So our brains are too busy to perhaps put down and really focus on this task that we know we need more of our attention on. It
Yeah.
could be that it's we haven't quite identified the right next step yet. It's kind of in the ideas zone rather than we know what practical step to take even, so that there are so many things that can be going on there. I mean, I'll be honest, I've got something on my to-do list which has been rolling for quite some time now, and I know I want it done, and I think it's one of those things where I kind of want to see it through to completion when I start it, but I have to be realistic. I'm probably going to have to do it bit by bit by bit, and I just have to dedicate the time and
Yeah,
break it down, I think, to be able
that's
to do that. And I
frustrating,
haven't,
isn't it?
yeah, and the truth is, I know I haven't given myself the time to really consider what that is, or I haven't prioritized it. And strangely, I think I've decided this is something I should tackle over the summer, as if miraculously over the summer I'm going to have more time to do that.
Yes.
In reality, I won't, but never mind. I
Yes,
shall
no,
I shall still be giving it a go.
I think we all tend to do that. We focus on a period of time when we suddenly decide everything's going to be okay. We're going to have the headspace and the time and the energy we need to do everything, and we just plonk everything in that time period. And then when it arrives, I don't actually feel able to do all this that I thought I would. But something you also said about needing to know next steps as well. I think that's an interesting one because if I've got a more complex or long-winded thing to do, if I don't know exactly how to do each step, I notice that stops me starting. I have to push myself to recognize if I do one thing, maybe the next stage will become clearer. But the fact that I don't know what's coming next bothers me and puts me off. Well, this is
Yeah.
interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally relate to that. So we're going to ask you a question, but then we're going to move on to actually some tips because I think I'm wondering if a lot of people are thinking this sounds familiar. So maybe there is somewhere in your life at the moment that you are just trying to get on with it and feeling unable to. So the question is to encourage you to ask what might actually be getting in the way. If you ask the
Mm.
questions that we just talked about earlier, maybe you'll be getting a bit of insight as to the thing that's in the way. And we've got some thoughts how to get unstuck without forcing yourself. Because as I think we've said before, we're not into the sort of bulldozery technique, are we, Kirsty? We like to offer
No,
something a bit more reassuring than that, I think.
no, just do it. And it might have its place for some people. Perhaps it has its place for all of us in some context, but I don't think it's a one size fits all thing. And
No.
often, often it just makes you go, yes, but that's what I'm trying to do, and it's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a few thoughts. So the first tip is to actually name what the interference is. When I mentioned that force field or obstacle, if you perhaps name it, see if you can identify what it is. For example, feeling overwhelmed, or perhaps it's I'm avoiding this, or this feels unclear. And then it just means that that obstacle isn't invisible anymore. We don't have to worry about all the other factors. We're identifying what the interference is and getting a little bit of clarity before we try and fix it. So we haven't moved into the fix it zone just yet. We're
Mm.
just like, what actually is it that is causing that sort of force
Yeah.
field between us and the thing that we want to have done?
Yeah, it's like kind of clearing the headspace. When you need to get on and sort things out, you're you're tackling that first sort of pile of stuff that's in the way of doing the rest of the tidying up, aren't you?
Yes, yeah, exactly, exactly. It's sort of like a hopefully a logical first step. Even though it sounds really obvious, I think sometimes we just get frustrated and we don't think to ask these sorts of things. We're just like, why can't I do it? We say all those questions that we mentioned at the start that really are just critical
Mm.
statements and increase frustration rather than lead us towards any kind of solution. So the second tip we've got for you is maybe to change state first and then act. Because, well, if you're anything like me, you might be feeling fed up, annoyed, cross, or emotional at your lack of progress, or maybe just a bit tired or stressed about it. And trying to power through can just feel like going uphill. So maybe something like a short time out, have a walk, a breathe, a stretch, get a change of view, bit of a pause. We've spoken about the power of a pause before,
Yeah, yes.
and it can give you a much better reset position from which to get moving on the task. This one definitely works for me. It's like sometimes I'm just trying to think of a solution and I'm staring at a screen, it
Mm.
doesn't come to me. And if I get up and walk around, certainly if I go outside, sometimes the thinking just starts to flow again.
Yes, if we're kind of stuck and we're always sort of in the same place to address the task when we're feeling stuck, we subconsciously start to associate being stuck with being in that place.
Mm,
So if it's trying to start something, a piece of work or whatever on your computer, whatever, and you're always sat there staring at the screen trying to do it, the stuckness becomes associated with staring at the screen. So that the movement, just moving away, doing something different can start to clear that. It's
yeah,
weird, isn't
it's
it?
just
Weird.
it
Good
is
weird,
weird,
but weird.
but it just from personal experience, I feel like that one really does make a difference. It's
Yeah.
just like a bit of an unlocking. Like you've got the lock over the door and nothing, no ideas are coming forth, and then you get up
Mm.
and move around, and just like they just start to move around of their own accord and come up with something a bit.
Yes.
Even if it's something that you didn't really entertain, and you can still dismiss it, but it just feels like movement, and I think that's what we're trying to create here. Because obviously the opposite of being stuck, it's movement, not always perfectly, as we are.
Not necessarily in the right direction. In my
No,
case, I have no
maybe not.
sense of direction. Yes.
No, me neither. Absolutely not. No, it's more of a finding our way, I think, but it's still progress of a kind.
Yes.
And I think the third tip is about if you make the first move a small one and it's got minimal emotional weight attached to it, so it's not necessarily about solving the whole issue, the whole task, you're starting it. We've said before, it's a bit like, when you've got a stationary car and you've just taken the handbrake off. There you go. It's just a really small first step. So it's capable of just rolling a few inches and then maybe it'll gather a bit of momentum as we carry on. But you've just done that first step. And that's definitely been that task that I mentioned before on my to-do list. It's because I know there are several steps to it and I want to see it to the end, but I'm gonna have to take the handbrake off and just do that first little bit and then keep going. That's the other thing. I can then lose interest and think, well, that hasn't resolved it. I haven't finished. It doesn't count. But of course it does count, because then if I make no movement at all, I'm not going to get anywhere.
This is very true, yes. Yeah, just starting something. So often we convince ourselves that we have to, if we start, we have to finish, and it has to be right and it has to be perfect. And if just letting go of that, just taking the handbrake off and seeing what happens. I mean, in my case, it often means rolling into the car in front. Not so good,
Yeah.
but it's movement.
Yeah. We'll try not to do that. Um, Fourth tip is about just choosing a bit of ease over pressure. Just what would make this just a bit easier, whatever that might be, a bit of support, a bit of an allocated quiet time to just start looking at this, just something to make that first move that little bit easier for you.
And maybe it's about practical support as well, or
Mm,
resources. Maybe you need some help, or somebody else could help. For bigger tasks, whatever, maybe you do actually need a bit of training. Maybe you need to get on YouTube and find that video about how to do it. It's that there can be ways of making it easier for yourself. And I don't know about you, but I think sometimes there's a kind of subconscious resistance to making it easier, as if that's cheating.
yes. Yeah, I agree. And I don't think it is. I think it's perfectly
No.
allowable if it gets you where you need to go. Yeah, it doesn't have to be hard. I think that's a very valuable lesson, actually.
Yeah, it's like when people offer help, sometimes the instinctive reaction is to say you don't need it because you feel you should be able to do it yourself. But actually, there is nothing wrong with it, accepting help or finding help, finding what makes it a bit easier. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe a fifth tip could be reviewing priorities as well. I think certainly in the corporate world, I forget how many D's it is. There's lots of D's around do it, delete it, delegate it. There's others, I've forgotten them.
Yeah.
Um, but it's basically reviewing your priorities. How important is this task? What's the impact of not doing it as soon as possible? If you set, is it a self-imposed deadline that you are stressing yourself out over? And if it is important and it's urgent, what else on your to-do list can you postpone or delegate or just get rid of to give you the time and headspace you need for it? It's all
Yeah,
about trying to clear a bit of space.
absolutely. So I think whilst feeling stuck might be frequent, I think we all recognize it quite often, at least it is temporary. And there are things that we can do to help expedite that temporary nature, I think, and the impact, of course, that it has with just some small moves. And I know I have to take my own advice here because that thing on my list is still there, but I think I do know what I need to do. So this is exactly the kind of work that we do as coaches. So if you are feeling particularly stuck and it is remaining quite stubborn, please don't hesitate to reach out to one of us. All of our contact details are in the show notes, and we would be delighted to offer you some support.
Absolutely. And I have to say, just in talking this through now, I felt something move in terms of my own stuckness at the moment. I have a general sense of sort of stuckness going on, and there's something shifted just in talking it through, and that's the power of being able to do that.
Absolutely. I wonder if we should perhaps do a follow up on the anti-stuck update, see how we get on, and
Are you
obviously if
still
this works
wading
for
through
you.
treacle, or have you eaten all the treacle? That's the big question.
Yes. Well, that might make you stuck as well, might. But anyway, enough about treacle for this week, and
Sorry.
we will see you all again soon for another episode. Take care. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Mission Imperfect. We'd love to hear your thoughts on any of our episodes, especially if you've had a light bulb moment in answering one of the questions, have benefited from one of the tips, or have a suggestion for an episode topic.
And if these conversations have made you curious about how coaching could help you, please don't hesitate to get in touch with one or both of us to find out more about what we offer. Until next time, keep being imperfectly you. No one does it better.